For generations, we've been told a very specific story from the Quran, from Surah Al-Kahf. It's about Musa meeting a mysterious, hidden guide we call Khidr. But what if, for all that time, we've been reading the whole thing completely upside down? What if the Quran, in its perfect precision, is showing us something way more profound, something that's been hidden in plain sight all along? The thing is, the Quran itself tells us this would happen. It warns us that over time, a deep, crucial understanding would be lost. People would start mixing the pure, clean revelation with all sorts of outside stories and ideas with, outside smoke. And a core wisdom just got buried. Well, I think it's time to clear the air and get back to the source. So that brings us to the main question, the big idea for this whole thing. What if Khidr isn't even a name? What if it's just a description, a title? And what if the person being described is the ultimate role model of faith, our father Ibrahim? You see, that meeting in Surah Al-Kahf, it's not just a story about a cool journey. It's actually a map of a perfected faith. It's one prophet being shown the spiritual path that another prophet had already walked. And it's a path we can still see today if we just know how to look. We all know this story, right? At least the surface level of it. The prophet Musa is on a quest to find a guide, someone with a special kind of divine knowledge. He's told to go to this place called the Junction of the Two Seas. He finds the guide and he asks to learn from him. That's the literal story we've all heard. But here's the twist. This is the point that changes everything. The word Khidr is never actually used as a name in the Quran. The text just calls him a servant who was given two very specific things from Allah: mercy from us and knowledge from our presence. Now think about that. That's not a name. That's a job description. It's a spiritual resume. So if it's a description, the real question becomes, who in the entire Quran fits that description perfectly? Who is the absolute best model of receiving that divine mercy? Someone so complete in their faith that the Quran calls him an entire community, a whole nation in just one person. The answer has been right there the whole time. It's Ibrahim, the father of faith. He's the one described as an ummah in one man, completely obedient to Allah. He is the living, breathing embodiment of someone who got that mercy from us and who lived a life guided by knowledge from our presence. The connection is staring us right in the face. And look, the proof isn't just in the description, it's in the actions. The parallels are just unmistakable. Those three mysterious lessons that Musa was shown, they were actually a reenactment of the three biggest trials of Ibrahim's own life. This is where it gets really amazing. When you put them side by side, the actions of this guide, they're not random or weird at all. They are the living biography of Ibrahim's total submission to God's will. It's a lesson taught through action, not just words. Okay, just look at this. First, you have damaging the boat to save it from a tyrant. That seems like a loss, but it's for a bigger preservation. Well, that's the exact same divine logic as Ibrahim leaving Ishmael in the desert. It looked like abandonment, but it was to save a whole future lineage. Next, killing the boy to prevent future corruption, a painful cut for a greater good. Well, that's the same spiritual calculus as the command for Ibrahim to sacrifice his own son. And finally, repairing a wall to protect a hidden treasure for orphans. That's a perfect echo of Ibrahim building the Kaaba, literally a wall preserving the treasure of pure monotheism for a future community. It's a perfect match. So what's the big takeaway here? The lesson wasn't some secret mystical knowledge. It was a lesson in spiritual history. Musa was being shown the divine calculus of mercy, the very same reality that his forefather Abraham had already lived through and perfected. It wasn't a lecture, it was a live demonstration. Now, you might be wondering, how can one prophet story literally be the lesson for another? To really get this, we have to learn how to read the Quran on two different levels at the same time. The source material calls this the Quranic wave particle flow, and it's basically the key that unlocks these deeper layers of meaning. So first up, you've got the particle view. This is the zahir, the apparent, the obvious. It's the literal story. A man named Musa travels, he meets another man, and a series of events happen. Simple, linear, straightforward. But right underneath that, you have the wave view, the batin, the hidden. This is the interconnected truth, the pattern of divine wisdom that flows through everything. On this level, the story of Musa isn't just a story, It's a frequency that resonates perfectly with the frequency of Ibrahim's life. Stories become patterns of truth that echo across time. And we have a perfect example of this. Remember when Abraham was thrown into the fire? The particle of fire was there. It was real. But its wave nature, its very essence of burning, was changed by God's command. The story of Musa and this guide is the same thing. The particle, the narrative, is there, but its wave, its true meaning is the spirit of Abraham's complete submission. And this whole wave-particle idea isn't just for this one story. It actually helps us understand the core function of other prophets too. It shows us their essential nature within God's bigger plan. Think about it like this. Musa is the force of the particle. He confronts Pharaoh with direct, physical signs. He strikes the sea with his staff. He brings the law down on stone tablets. He's all about decisive physical action. And then, in contrast, you have Isa. He is the force of the wave. He's called a word from Allah, a spirit of mercy. He is a living scripture, the force of knowledge and inner change. Okay, so this is all really fascinating, but what's the point? Why does understanding this story in a new way actually matter for us right now? Well, it all comes down to the incredibly precise language the Quran uses to guide us, and a choice that every single one of us has to make. The Quran is just surgically precise with its words. I mean, it's unbelievable. It uses two different commands that we often just lump together, but they mean totally different things: obey and follow. And getting this difference is absolutely critical. Okay, so obey, or atiru, is for a physically present authority, like a messenger giving you a direct command from God. It's immediate, it's clear. But follow, or itiberu, is for an absent example. It means you have to use your own judgment, but, and this is the most important part, that judgment has to be aligned only with what's revealed in the Quran itself. The big danger, like we saw with the Samiri who made the golden calf, is when people start following stories and reports that are outside of that pure revelation. That's when all that smoke starts to cloud the truth. And this brings us to the final, ultimate principle. The source material calls it the theory of the divine string. The idea is so simple, but so profound. To truly connect with the divine, you first have to disconnect from everything else, from guesswork, from secondhand information, from all the other ropes of this world that tie you down. The first step, as this verse so powerfully says, is to cut the false web. Cut the ropes of pride, of fear, of man-made traditions. You have to sever all those noisy connections so that you can finally hear the real signal. Because it's only then, only when your hands are empty of all those other false ropes, that you can grasp the one true connection, the firmest handhold that will never, ever break. And that handhold is the Quran itself, a direct, unmediated connection to the source. So this way of reading the story of Musa and Ibrahim, it's not just some cool interpretation. It's an invitation. It's a call to action, a call to stop being okay with a second-hand, heedless understanding, and to really entangle ourselves directly with the revelation. The Quran is the rope of Allah, and it's hanging right there for all of us. The only question left is, are you ready to let go of everything else and truly grasp it?